Let me just give a little background. The governor's office, out of the blue, reached out to me and saying that we have an exciting program they just availing, and they're going to spend in the cold, frigid cold, to come down to Chinatown to let us know, because of our Haile district, the topic is going to be called the unemployment strike force, because this is something new and I don't know anything about. So let's give a round of applause, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, and to the board members, thank you for your time. I'm a founding board member of the Dumbo bid myself, so I know the time, I know the fights. 3 years, congratulations. I also come to you as the daughter of a New York City small business person, a manufacturer in Brooklyn. So I do serve the governor as a special counsel for labor and a deputy commissioner. But what is in my portfolio are a number of special initiatives that he has introduced. And the one that I want to talk to you guys about today is the unemployment strike force and a couple of other programs that we've layered with it that create tax incentive and wage reimbursement packages for small businesses in New York City in order to try and incentivize the hiring of new people and creation of new positions. Okay, so just next slide, please. So on May 29th of last year, we went into the Bronx and we announced what was the unemployment strike force. And the idea really was to start, re-examining how we were spending state money when it comes to workforce development. And there were two problems that I actually had a problem with. One is that the places that had the highest levels of unemployment had persistently highest levels of unemployment. And that was despite the resources that were being spent there. We were also spending a lot of money on training, but not training for jobs that existed. So money was being invested on preparing people for positions that weren't necessarily there after our investment had been spent. Next slide, please. What happened in May was the governor deployed the strike force in the Bronx, Jefferson, and Lewis counties. Those are two counties in the North Country. Again, persistently highest levels of unemployment. In the State of the State last week, which is why we're here now doing this, and reached out to Mr. Chen, he expanded it to a total of 10 counties. So now the 10 counties with the highest unemployment rates in the state are going to receive these services. What we did in the Bronx was we opened offices in every community district. We opened offices in the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. We went and met with every elected official. We met with merchant association presidents, bid association presidents, and to the extent that we were able to enlist them, actually went door to door with our incentives for businesses while we caseworked the unemployed clients who come through the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor has a massive jurisdiction, which I didn't realize when I came to the job actually, but we do run the unemployment insurance system. And New York State is the only state in the country that actually requires anyone who goes on unemployment to come into a career center for a reemployment plan. So we concentrated efforts in the Bronx originally. You'll see that we have 4,000 people back to work from that pilot. And these are the unemployment rates from when we first got here in November, and where we are as of the last unemployment rate that just came out last month. Next slide, please. So, you know Bronx, you know Jefferson, you know Lewis. We're going to show you a little bit of statistics about New York City. And these are our unemployment rates, and you see compared to New York City, other than Manhattan, we are consistently higher. And we are consistently higher than New York State as a whole. 263,000 people in New York City total are unemployed. Here's the part that is supposed to actually pique your interest and hopefully is what puts this program over the top. There is a significant amount of training money, as I mentioned in the beginning, that runs through the Department of Labor, federal grants for training, employment services, that sort of thing. What we are doing is we've put out millions of dollars available to small businesses, like most of you own, and these are the programs through which they can be spent. There is on-the-job training, which means that somebody working next to you, that you are training to be what you need, can be reimbursed for their wages up to $7,900. There's customized training, which means we can put together, whether it's a classroom setting because you have a large number of people that you want to train, or whether it's a course that you want to send people to. There is money that is specified for that. You see that one of the changes we've made is that not only are we turning this around as soon as you're eligible, but we also have people who have now been hired to actually do the paperwork for the small business, walk them through whatever the questions are, submit it for them so that you as a small business person are not spending half your time just trying to navigate the government issues that come with this. In addition to the training money that is available, the people who have been trained to casework with you for this are trained to fold into your customized training money any tax incentives for which you'd be eligible. So you'll see in a moment, I'll talk about two of the governor's initiatives, which were also proposed for expansion under the state last week. The customized recruitment services is something that we've started doing under the Bronx Plan. We're also doing it in Jefferson and Lewis, and it's turning out really to be our most effective way of placing people. We are working with the businesses first to find out what you need. We're sending you 5 people based on the qualifications that you are requesting for each of your open positions. You are only asked to interview them. You don't need to hire them. And what we do ask, though, is for feedback on why they weren't the right person. I'm really starting this talking tour with conversations, which this obviously isn't the best forum for, but hopefully we'll hear from some of you. But to hear, how do we spend this money to actually create a position that makes it worth your while to enter into this program? And that's the conversation the governor's asked us to have. Looking at the amount it costs for an HR department coupled with the training and the other things that small businesses incur, this is the money that has been actually estimated to be saved by an average small business in a year. That is the governor's unemployment Strikeforce. There are flyers on the back table with the other materials with all of the email addresses, phone numbers, website information. I will leave some of my cards here as well. If there is if you are interested, if you want to have a conversation about how to make this money work, if you are part of another group that you think this might be of interest to, we'd like to come talk to you. Two of the things that are also part of these packages we're putting together, like I said, are some of the other programs that the governor has been working on. Work for Success is a program that is designed to put formerly incarcerated individuals back to work. Costs about $25,000 a year to incarcerate somebody. It makes a lot more sense to send them back to our communities with something productive to do and some direction. The Work for Success program is something the governor announced 2 years ago. The Labor Department is doing not just the job development and career marketing for the individuals, but we now have mandatory parolee training plans and placement plans. So when someone is released from a state facility, they now have to come to the Career Center. We see them 6 months before they're released so that there is a career placement plan in place for them when they are released. We have created certain training programs in the facilities based on demands that were discussed with us by businesses who were interested in hiring people, or willing to hire people from this community. There is bonding available, although I'll tell you honestly, no one has ever requested it. This tends to be people, once they get into a groove of their life is back, they have a job, they have some direction, they tend to be very loyal employees, but the bonding does exist in the event that there is loss. Like I said, it has never been used. We also offer the support that we offer to any of our clients that we place, which may be additional training. There are federal tax credits which come in and out of existence depending on what Congress is doing that week. And then no-cost compliance assistance. There has been a lot of debate lately, or conversation lately, about what you can and cannot ask somebody and whether or not you can employ somebody or refuse to employ somebody based upon whether or not they were formerly incarcerated. So again, these are services that the Department of Labor will walk through with a small business, hopefully alleviate the burden of you having to deal with that piece of it yourself. The last piece that I'd like to talk about is New York Youth Works. This was something that we actually piloted in okay. I was going to say, okay. He launched it in 2012. What we did was we put 13,000 kids to work in 1,366 businesses. The legislature renewed the program for 2014, where we then hired the balance of the numbers that you see there. What the legislature did last year was they put $10 million per year for the next 4 into tax credits for at-risk youth in 13 locations, ages 16 to 24. What the governor has proposed is to add another $10 million for 5 high poverty, high unemployment cities. New York City always qualifies. So, you know, that's the bad news. The good news is the incentives will always run to us in the communities that we live in. And again, there is a lot of executive discretion in this, so to the extent that it's something that you're willing to engage in a conversation about, we'd like to hear how we make it work. This tax credit, as you see, it's $5,000, but it's a reimbursable tax credit, which means that if your liability for that individual's taxes doesn't come up to the full $5,000, it's actually reimbursed to you in cash. So one of the packages so we're actually able to package a training and tax incentive package whereby you're actually getting paid on top of this being a no-cost employee for the 6 months that you're testing them out. And that's the idea, to give people a chance, whether it's a young person who's not yet entered the workforce or is just getting there, whether it's someone who's formerly incarcerated, or whether it's just an unemployed neighbor. This money, these incentives apply to those groups of people, and we're working to try and make them actually fit in to the small business models that exist throughout the city. These are the 13 areas, and that is the contact information, which, as I said, is also on a fact sheet in the back, and I will leave some of my cards, and Mr. Chen, of course, has my contact information. I want to thank you very much for your time. I'll certainly take questions, although this is not really the forum in a large public meeting, but I'm happy to if that's okay and anyone has any. Well, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully I'll hear from you.